Hello YouTubers, I am Doctor Who Commentator here to give you my personal fan commentary of Doctor Who. And looks like I timed it right this time. But still some disclaimers, I'm not affiliated with the BBC in any way, don't make any money off this, I'm just a fan. And today's episode is The Rebel Flesh. So here we are, just a long corridor. All these shots filmed in genuine castles, not just one castle. Which I say castles, don't know, it's old buildings in general, nonetheless. They filmed in several different locations all to make it look like one. It is actually rather convincing, I'll give it that. There's people in acid protective suits. Ooh, a big chamber. Yeah, there's not really much I can talk about, which is a shame, because I do think this is a fine episode. It's probably I find it a little bit boring, probably just because it's a two-parter. I do find the two-parters tend to be a bit too long to me. Although a lot of the whole thing does just get set up in this episode. I mean, this scene in general, I mean, the double ganger here is just fallen into acid, and they obviously don't really care that much about them. But they're not considered life forms yet, they're not sentient yet. You see him completely decomposing. Almost seem completely heartless. There he is, he survived. It's Chris Skelton from Life on Mars. See the first Life on Mars Ashes actor to appear in Doctor Who? Who knows, it's more important to see Star Trek actors, frankly. That's going to be happening in Torchwood soon. They're getting at least 2 Star Trek actors to appear in the next Torchwood series. Here's the opening titles. I never have anything to say during the opening titles, maybe I should leave that for the disclaimers. By Matthew Graham, actually. Yes, Matthew Graham, the writer of this episode. He's also the creator of Life on Mars. Oh, there's music. It's actually listed here. It's called Supermassive Black Hole by Muse. And as you see, the TARDIS is still confused as to whether Amy's pregnant or not.
Who wants fish and chips? I'll drop you both off, take your time, don't rush! And you? Things to do, things involving other things.
Well, we'll stay with you, we'll do the other things. Whatever you're up to, I personally like to be a part of it.
He's obviously got a lot of concern for her. I was actually reading some forums and suddenly realised that a lot of people seem to find Amy to be rather annoying. And yeah, I do kind of agree. When I look back at it, she is a bit too annoying to me. I mean, I do find it annoying she can't just simply agree with the Doctor a lot of the time. I said before once with Victory of the Daleks, I was really annoyed at her in Victory of the Daleks solely because of the fact that when the Doctor sees the Dalek and Churchill calls it an Ironside, the Doctor is clearly angry, and Amy's just going on, Doctor, well, what do you know about this thing? He's clearly very angry. He obviously knows what it is. There's... You could still see bits of snow in it, because all those who watch Doctor Who Confidential will know that it had actually snowed when they were filming this, and it's filled with snow. Now this makes me curious. It's the 22nd century, and Dusty Springfield's on. It's been 100 years and people are still listening to the same old music. As if it's pop music. And that's going to be looked on as classical music eventually.
Pumping something nasty off the side of me. My mum's a massive fan of Dusty Springfield. Right, let's go. Satisfy our rally curiosity.
I never really heard of Dusty Springfield till this. Can't see a lot of CGI went into that.
So what are you talking about? We've never been here before.
We came here by accident?
Accident? Yes, I know. Accident. They're pumping acid off the side, and that's all fresh acid. You wouldn't have a finger.
I should point out, the location they're at is supposed to be a monastery. And as it points out here on the internet, the Doctor has previously visited a monastery during his second incarnation in the episode The Abominable Snowman. Well, they're all the contractors all hooked up. All telepathically linked to their gangers, obviously.
The almost people. What other moment they fall into the or what category? And remain calm. Well, we halted. How are we all doing on the calm front? Stay back, Jen.
Let's ask him. Who the hell are you?
Well, I'm the Doctor and this is Amy and Rory, and it's all very nice, isn't it?
Hold up. They're all like identical twins.
This is an alpha-grade industrial facility. Unless you work for the military or for Morpheus Jackson, you are in big trouble.
Actually, you're in big trouble.
That character.
Since
Hang on.
Since you were hit by a solar wave,
which we survived.
just by the look of it, and there's a bigger one on the way.
We'll also survive. Dickens scans for bugs.
Well, now,
Miranda Cleaves,
your factory,
the character.
You're on.
Miranda Cleaves.
No.
She's normally the kind of character I would get really annoyed at. She's just constantly too out there, never listening to logic. Normally I'd hate those characters. However, they have stated in this episode she is actually working for the military, so that kind of makes sense, I suppose. So there's the flesh. Tub of the flesh, rather. Just waiting for the characters to come in there.
Meet the government's worst kept secret, the flesh. It's fully programmable matter. That is planning to replicate itself at the cellular level.
Right. Brilliant. Lost.
It's not that difficult.
After readings being taken, you can manipulate the molecular structure into anything. Replicate living animals.
That's the thing, it's not exactly that difficult, the idea of it can replicate itself. You've already said that this replicates, it can replicate itself. It's not inconceivable, it makes perfect sense.
It acts like life, but it still needs to be controlled by us. And those harnesses you saw.
Wait, whoa. Hold it. So, your flesh now?
I'm laying harness back in that chamber. scared. This thing looks like operating a forklift truck.
You said it could grow. Only living things grow.
Moss grows. It's no more than that. This acid is so dangerous, we will lose.
Yes, and moss is a living thing.
Now we mine the acid using these doppelgangers, or gangers. These bodies get burned or fall in the acid.
Who the odd cares? Right, Jen?
Nerve endings automatically cut off, like airbags being discharged. We wake up and get a new gang.
It's weird. But you get used to it.
Jennifer, I want you in your ganger. Get back to the harness.
Hang on. Soon. What are you up to, pal? Stop it. Strange. Right.
So, you know, that's already set up that the flesh is a living form. It reacts to this sonic screwdriver, it's pulled him in. You know what? When he touched the flesh right there, I kind of saw the ending instantly.
You alright?
Of course, that said, this is a two-parter, so haven't seen the whole ending instantly.
I mean, I felt it in my mind. I reached out to it and it to me.
Don't fiddle with the money.
How can you be so good? Lives, so alive. Your plan of your lives, your personality is directly into it. It's the same storm.
He honestly checks gravity with an hourglass. Hourglass? Snow globe. Snow globe now. Why doesn't he just use a yo-yo like he used to?
Okay, then we'll keep pumping acid until the mainland says stop. Now why don't you stand back and let us
Yeah, that's typical. That's typical. Just doing whatever they want to do without the care that they're gonna die. This is pretty predictable as an episode goes. So there are any more ways I can be boring in my commentaries. I reckon I'm just like all commentators, looking for things to say. I actually said last week. I said at the end of last week's episode that the whole thing kind of reminded me of the Sontarans, and it still really does. I mean, that episode, I think it was the Sontaran stratagem. He had that bit with that sort of green clone monster going. What I got curious about the Sontarans was that I thought they had those potato head type heads simply because something went wrong in the cloning process, and now it's constantly fixed like that. Now I'm suddenly discovering, they can make exact replicas of clones. How were they created, the Sontarans? I know that's a constant mystery. What was the original blueprint for Sontaran?
Miracle of life. Need to get Ponzi.
But I'm going off topic.
Okay, everybody, let's crack on. I mentioned the solar storm. You need to get out of here. Where do you want us to go? On a tiny island. Oh, I can get you all off there.
Dickens got a job to do.
It's coming.
That's too loud.
Try to get out.
A solar means a solar router? The weatherman?
Me, boss. Maybe if the storm's back, we should get underground. In fact, we've seen better days. The acid pipes might not withstand them alive.
We have 200 tons of acid to pump out. We fall behind, we stay another rotation. Anyone want that?
Please, you're making a massive mistake here. You're right at the crossroads of it. Don't do the wrong way. If you don't prepare for this storm, you are all in terrible danger. Understand?
My factory. My walls.
I need to check the progress of the storm.
Ugh. Like I said, typical, rather predictable character.
Right in the left, third door on your left.
Completely arrogant, not wanting to listen to anyone. Only cares for her own opinions.
See this weather vane, the cock-a-doodle doo? It's a solar wicker feeding the whole factory with solar power. When that wave hits, kaboom. I've got to get to that cockerel before all hell breaks loose. I never thought I'd have to say that again. Aiming green.
Sorry, I was just checking one of my DVDs there. I was checking for something later. I wonder if I've completely forgotten what that cockerel line was about. It's about. Has he ever said that before in Doctor Who? Because I don't think he has, but still. Just check to see if it's there. So that's how they got rid of the TARDIS that week. They're always trying to find ways to get rid of the TARDIS because, well, obviously because it just fixes the situation too quickly. I think. See, now the last time he fell off a giant radio tower or electrical tower, the last time he fell off a tower, he regenerated. That was in Logopolis. That's why I was checking my DVDs going. That's the solar. That's the solar power generator destroyed right there. Her personality's changed very quickly.
I abandoned my team.
How long would you say we were unconscious for, please?
Not long. Minute, 2 minutes.
Has it riven out a piece
And her character's changed there very quickly.
of the world's turned inside out in an hour? A lot can go wrong in an hour. I feel like I'm toasted. What the hell happened?
This madly happened to her.
That's typical as well.
It hurt so much.
It's okay, it's over.
I couldn't get out of my heart. I thought I was going to die.
Welcome to my world.
This is a very quick bond they've established. Does Amy really have to feel threatened? They've only just met.
Where are their gangers? Don't worry. When the link shuts down, the gangs return to pure flesh. Now, the storm's left us with acid leaks all over, so we need to contact the mainland. They can have a rescue shuttle out here in no time.
As Maleka. Who's playing Maleka? Your gangers. They can walk around.
No, it's impossible. They're not active. Cars don't fly themselves, cranes don't lift themselves, and gangers don't...
You're basically going to say gangers don't walk themselves.
No way.
Okay.
Well, she's technically right. Before they're sentient.
See, I'm still in the back. Is it just like the Isle of Sheppey? It seems the storm has animated your gangs.
Ransacked everything.
Not ransacked, search.
Through our stuff.
Their stuff. Searching for confirmation. They need to know their memories are real.
Also, they've got flaming memories now.
They feel compelled to connect to their lives.
They're stolen lives.
No, you gave. She's calling your personality. Emotions.
Exactly, you can't say stolen. Stolen, we are living beings.
Lives
I am kind of curious, is this what's going to happen when we do have clones? I mean,
Isle of Sheppey. Gang rotten like
if they're... I mean, if we're just hooked up like that, controlling them as double gang, as telepathic link, that I can understand. We'll just see them as these bodies that we're controlling, understand that. But what about when we actually do clone people? Will we see them as living beings or not? Well, we're the human race. We all Need something to discriminate against.
Sorry. It's me. It's not a hobby. My grandma did that one, so I took you to do this. Grandad.
Well, your gang's granddad took him to do it too. We both have the same childhood memory, it's just as clear.
The top two cards keep changing. The top two cards on that pyramid of cards keep changing. Changing. That's what it mentions down here.
In their heads.
The doctor's always saying don't wander off.
Well, he's right.
Actually, don't wander off.
Well, it's a perfectly reasonable rule, frankly.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Take all the time you need. I'll got you back. You're fine.
Okay, to me, that whole face-changing thing, that felt so much like 1970s or 80s Doctor Who right there. Basically 1970s or 80s science fiction in general, frankly.
We, better get going.
Don't know why. Just did.
Everything okay in there, Jen?
Okay, so apparently the Flesh are shapeshifters as well.
We need to protect ourselves. Are you a violent man, Jimmy?
I know I'm moaning, but that is
And why would the other
that only sort of makes sense, frankly.
Like this, Doctor.
told me
That's what I'm thinking, you know, it sort of makes sense that they'd be shapeshifters.
in fact it was an hour?
Sorry, I just assumed.
Well, it's not your fault, like I said, they're disorientated. Amy, when you got to the alcove, she was anonymous.
I mean, I always thought once they take on that physical, the Flesh takes on that physical form, it would stay in that form, but guess not.
Matters to the rubbery nerve ending's not quite fused properly.
What are you talking about?
Okay.
Why didn't I feel that?
You will. You'll stay with others.
No, stop it. You're playing stupid games. Stop it!
You're kind. Please, trust me. I'm the doctor.
Well, there you go.
What have you done with her? That's exactly.
That is a question. Where did she disappear to?
Stages as the technology is so much. Juliet,
So what's happened to her?
she can't stabilize. She's shifting between half form and full form. For now, at least.
Okay, shifting between half formed and full formed. Alright, I understand that now.
Let it go.
Dr. Rory.
Rory,
Rory?
Did he just say let it go or her go? Hope he didn't say eh. It is very rude for him.
explosion must have ruptured the acid fuse. We're gonna need the acid fuse. No. We're back.
My dad was boring how that acid didn't look that much like acid, and he's right. Acid is more of a liquid form, and this was all a gungy form. That's what they were using. They were using some sort of gunge or slime.
Rory? Rory?
Of course, Jennifer's a ganger too.
Doctor said they wouldn't be violent.
What did he mean by of course?
Early technology is what you said. You seem to know something about the Flesh.
I'm a bit confused. Did he say alien technology or early technology? If he said alien technology, then that's obviously Sontaran. If he said early technology, then it could be a link to the episode New Earth, in which we saw the new humans, which were referred to as the Flesh.
It is too dangerous out here with acid leak. We have to find Rory. Yes, I'm going back to the TARDIS. Wait for me in the dining hall. I want us to keep together, okay? No more wandering off. And while we're going, well, it will take much to look for Rory and Jennifer with the TARDIS. Here we go. Stress players. Exit. Keep going straight, cameras. I'm great dog.
No, you're really not going to get your vehicle here. No, I was.
Fine and dandy.
Actually, I was looking at one of the rumours was that the TARDIS will be cloned, and this appeared to be incorrect. However, this person said incorrect. However, to be fair, this is just the first episode. A second part could be on its way. In fact, I think the TARDIS could be cloned for one reason, and I'll probably get to that at the end.
When I was a little girl.
This is meant to be 22nd century. There's so... For a 22nd century place, I saw an exercise bike, a very 21st century exercise bike.
Feel how so toes inside my red one.
Why is there so much 21st century technology in what should be a 22nd century area?
And she was Jennifer too.
When you look back... Well, it's 100 years. If you look back to 100 years before, you can see how much technology has changed for us since then. So it kind of does make feasible that there's so much... All the things you see in 1970s and 80s Doctor Who, which you think, oh, that looks ridiculous. Well, I don't think it is that far-fetched, frankly. When you see the advancements we've made.
My name is Jennifer Lucas. I'm not a factory part. I had toast for my breakfast. I wrote a letter to my mum. And then you arrived. I noticed your eyes right off.
This is a whole hard moral thing to think, actually, because she says she's not a factory part. Well, she isn't now. That's what I can think. She isn't now. She was when she started.
I am Jennifer Lucas. I remember everything that happened in your entire
Your age, Jennifer Lucas.
every birthday, every childhood illness.
See, now that's impressive, because I never remember every one of my birthdays.
I'm not a monster. I am me. Why did they do this to us? Help me, Rory.
There he is, Surgeon Technology. Still reacts to his screwdriver. What exactly is he trying to look for, though? That's never actually fully explained. Why did he go to the floor? Or is it, I don't know. Hard to... Shut up. See, like I said, it's becoming very predictable. I do like that line. I've never seen a man double take like that. I've seen someone double take to his shoes burning.
There's acid leaking everywhere. Did you see the boss's eyes back there in the hall? Let's see if you can't go look at them like that. Don't know what they are now, but they ain't us.
They were never you to begin with, they were their own people. It's true, they never were them to begin with, they were just simply bodies they used for work.
We have the advantage now. We have the acid suits. We can move freely. Strike at will.
Are you sure you're feeling better? No more super elastic punches.
I'm different now. Stronger.
The doctor won't hurt you. He wants to help Jennifer, okay?
He used my name. He used my name. Thank you. Amy's a lucky girl.
Yeah, she is.
Yes, but very easily jealous, apparently. Yeah, I was saying before, I do kind of prefer their relationship to the one with Rose and Mickey. Although that said, Mickey wasn't there for a long period of time, and it's so much about Rose's family as well. So before, if they actually did just keep it Rose and Mickey, then I probably would have liked them more. I know I keep reviewing here when I shouldn't. Should just commentate. Ah, there's the eye patch woman again.
What happened?
She needs protecting. Jen?
No, it's a guy.
How did she know so quickly?
Nobody touches her!
I am glad that Rory actually stood up to Amy like that. Because that I was thinking was just getting really old. I hate the fact that he was just so weak. My dad was actually saying to me how he loved how they gave Rory more of a personality. Rory had very little personality in the last series, although in fairness, Rory was killed off for most of the series. But I agree, I am liking Rory a lot more.
I don't need to know.
Well, there are two choices. The first is to tear each other apart on my favourite. The second is to knuckle down and work together. Try to work out how best we can help you.
My mum isn't actually as fond of this series as Rusty Davis is. Although that's because she's not so much into science fiction aspects, much more the drama aspects. Which is definitely what Rusty Davis brought, whereas Steve Moffat is bringing more of the science fiction aspects. Which I prefer. I don't care about the drama, I want the science fiction.
What have you done with her?
I haven't seen her, I swear. But look, I'm her. I'm just like her.
But definitely better written than Rusty Davis.
You're just pretending to like her.
Really? We don't really know anything about them yet.
Well, I know that she's afraid, and she needs our help.
Yes, thank you.
Jimmy. Buzzer, come on, you guys.
Thank you, he's being a lot more sensible. He's finally standing up for himself. I'm much happy he's done that.
Let's not do anything at all.
Until the doctor gets here. Hello?
This is not more of a... Is it really that frightening to suddenly see yourself? I mean, you know what they are.
All right, Watson. They brought us together. Now,
Before we do anything, I have one very quick question. Has anyone got a pair of shoes I could take? Size 10. Well, I should warn you, I'm very wide feet.
that's it, Doctor. Befriend them. Team up with them, why don't you? Make a football team, how about that?
Ugh.
You'll be able to
Typical.
singing campfire songs.
The flesh was never merely moss. These are not copies. The Storm's hardwired them. They are becoming people. Well, souls. Rubbish. They should.
Frankly, that depends if you believe in a soul.
Yeah, thanks. Too much information.
We are not talking about an accident that needs to be mopped up. We are talking about sacred life. Do you understand? Good. Now, the TARDIS is trapped in an acid pool. Once I can reach her, I can get you all off this island, humans and gangers. They own that, sir. Can we get all friends, must they? What about me? He's my son too. You really think that? I feel it. Oh, so you were there when he was born, were you? Yeah. I drank about 8 pints of tea. And they told me I had a wee one, and I just burst out laughing. No idea. I miss home.
See, this is normally his moral question. To be frank, I'm not sure he would count as the actual father.
I'm not going to lie, Chet's right off messes. But as you might say, I've no. Oh, well, I'll just go to push it stairs. Bye, go. Good, right. First, get everyone together, then get
Yeah,
everyone safe.
Northerners might be a bit pissed off with that.
But we're still missing Jennifer and Cleve.
I'll give you a hand if you like. Cover more ground.
Certainly very sensible.
This has gone long enough.
You see, that is just so typically me.
See, now this is the part I didn't understand. Why is the gang of Cleves so different from the original Cleves? And same with Jennifer. The gang of Jennifer is more like... Basically, the gang of Jennifer is more like Cleves,
And the real people
and
this island and have actually taught philosophy over a pint
the
glass
gang of
with
Cleves is more like Jennifer. That was very confusing. That's it. That bit I didn't
We
understand.
always have to take charge, don't we, Moran? Even though we don't really know what the hell is going on.
Because I would more imagine it was the gang of Cleves who would be taking charge more than the gang of Jennifer.
We call it decommission.
You stop the car. He had a heart. I ought about a real human heart. And you stopped it. Jen.
What happened to us will happen to us all if we trust you.
Wait, just wait.
You know, surely at the very least the gangers can see that the Doctor and Rory do mean and Rory sitting here do mean well, surely. It was just Cleves who was being a fool.
Look what you've done.
If it's war, then it's war. You don't get
It didn't have to be war.
How can you? It's up
How
to
typical of the military mind.
us and them.
Us and them.
It's a good thing.
Us and them.
And I do like that one of them hesitates as well.
We tried. We all tried, and look what they did. Us and them now.
Us and them.
Us and them.
Jennifer. Buzzer warned you it was a trick, and now he's dead. If we want to live, then it's time to go to war. I'll take care of the spare one running around out there.
Yeah, we haven't seen her throughout the entire episode. I mean, rest of the episode since the whole accident. We haven't actually established how her leg got. Well, I mean, she's limping right now, so her leg's obviously been damaged. There's a hand.
The most fortified and defendable room in the monastery. Clean. The most fortified and defendable room in the monastery.
The chapel. Only one way in, stone walls, 2 feet thick.
You've Must be hell of a likely if you've killed one of them. They're coming back.
So you didn't. It's hard to believe that wasn't inevitable. I mean, if you kill someone, they will retaliate. There's the real Jennifer. Still limping. And there's the ganger. Anyone other than me noticed that her hair seemed to be sticking to the ceiling when frankly it should have been. It's more likely it would have been flowing like that. I do get the point, she was just lying on the floor, but still. Yeah, he's his own man at last. Exactly. Talking sense.
Show yourself!
Yeah, I think you could see that. The other one's sitting on the chair. With his hands crossed like that. We're about to get into the cliffhanger now, so I'll be able to say what I was going to say.
Yes, it's insane. It's about to get even more insane. Is that a word? Show yourself! Right now!
Doctor, we are trapped in here and Rory's out there with Venom. Hello, we can't get to the target and we can't...
Correct in every respect, Paul. It's frightening, unexpected, frankly a total
There it is.
splattering mess on the carpet, but I'm certain, 100% certain that we can work this out. Trust me.
And when my dad... See, now when my dad saw that ganger doctor, the first thing my dad said was, "That's how he dies," referring to the impossible planet. Well, of course! And that's why I think the TARDIS will be cloned as well, because they can... That means Amy and Rory can tell him exactly what's going to happen, and he can take the place. So, I have been Doctor Who Commentator. Thank you for watching. If you want to find me, I have an alternative YouTube account, Bakora23, and I'm on Doctor Who World as Omega1. So here's the next time trailer. Seems to distrust Amy. So one of them's in danger. Internal pain. Oh, the two doctors fighting each other. Who knows? Something's happening. There's a load of bodies there. Goodbye.